Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. February in Genoa City never brought gentle breezes, it brought storms. And this year the storm had a name, Victor Newman. It had started as a calculated power play. Victor had kidnapped Cain Ashby's family, Lily Winters and their twins under the guise of protection, manipulation and twisted justice. He called it leverage, Cain called it war. Cain Ashby had thought he understood the rules of engagement. He thought he knew how to play with titans, but Victor didn't play, Victor conquered. For days Cain had walked a tightrope between rage and desperation. The Newman Empire, everything Victor had built, was within Cain's grasp. One signature and it would be his to command. One signature and his family would be safe. And he almost did it. He almost signed it all away. But that was before Phyllis Summers decided she wanted a throne of her own. Phyllis had always thrived in chaos. She didn't wait for opportunity, she created it. So when she saw Cain hesitating, torn between pride and fear, she made her move. The chloroform came out of nowhere. One moment Cain was arguing in a private office about terms and concessions. The next, darkness swallowed him whole. When he woke up, groggy and disoriented, the empire was no longer his to negotiate. Phyllis had stolen it. She had maneuvered behind the scenes, exploited loopholes, twisted paperwork, and through a deal with Billy Abbott positioned herself at the helm. Billy would run Chancellor, Phyllis would pull strings from the shadows. Cain had been outplayed. And worse, his family was still out there, still bargaining chips. Lily Winters had agreed to go along with Victor's scheme temporarily, trusting that Cain would outmaneuver the old lion, but days had passed, the silence was deafening, the twins were restless, Lily's patience was thinning. She had believed she could control the situation, instead she felt trapped in a gilded cage, protected yet powerless. Devon Winters could sense something was wrong long before anyone confirmed it. He had called Lily repeatedly, no response. Nate Hastings had done his own quiet digging, his medical calm masking growing suspicion. Victor doesn't do favors, Devon muttered one evening packing the penthouse. He collects debts. And Lily, she was starting to realize she might be the debt. Back in Genoa City, Cain rose from humiliation with fire in his eyes. If Phyllis wanted mud, he'd drag her into it. He sought out one person who could hit her where it hurt most, Daniel Romalotti Jr. Daniel loved his mother, but he also knew her. He had seen her manipulations, her ambition, the way she justified betrayal as strategy. When Cain approached him quietly, offering proof of how Phyllis had seized control at the expense of everyone, including Daniel's own future, something shifted. "You're asking me to betray my mother," Daniel said, voice low. "I'm asking you to stop her before she burns the entire city down," Cain replied. Daniel hesitated, loyalty warred with morality, but deep down he feared Phyllis was spiraling again. And so, reluctantly, Daniel agreed. While Cain plotted revenge and Daniel wrestled with guilt, another storm brewed, one centered around a small boy who had already endured too much. Dominic Winters was home. The kidnapping had shaken the entire family to its core, the culprit, Mariah Copeland. Mariah hadn't meant to destroy anyone's world, but trauma and fear had twisted her thinking. In a moment of instability, she had taken Dominic, convinced she was protecting him from imagined danger. Now she faced the consequences. Abby Winters stood firm, her heart fractured but her resolve solid. "You will not come near my son," Abby told Mariah coldly during a tense confrontation at the jail. Mariah's eyes filled with tears. "I love him, I would never hurt him." "You already did," Abby replied. The legal consequences loomed, charges, custody complications, public scrutiny, and emotionally, the damage was immeasurable. Devon tried to remain balanced, though fury simmered beneath his calm exterior. He understood mental health struggles, but Dominic's safety was non-negotiable. Mariah's world was crumbling. Tessa stood by her, but even love couldn't erase what had happened. Across town, Billy Abbott surveyed his reclaimed empire. Chancellor was his again. With Phyllis backing, he had seized control, pushing aside doubters and dissenters. For a brief, intoxicating moment, Billy felt invincible. But power isolated him. Friends questioned his judgment, allies withdrew, and whispers about Jill Abbott's fragile health began to circulate. Jill had always been a force, but stress was her enemy. If Billy's ruthless tactics triggered another medical crisis, could he live with that? And even if he survived the backlash, would Cain let him keep it? Because Cain was watching, waiting, calculating. Meanwhile, Nick Newman was unraveling in quiet, dangerous ways. The fentanyl had started as a way to numb stress, to take the edge off, to cope with mounting pressures, but addiction didn't care about intention. Sharon Newman noticed the subtle changes, the mood swings, the distant gaze, the defensiveness. "What aren't you telling me?" she asked him one night. Nick brushed it off. But Sharon had lived through enough chaos to recognize when something was wrong. If Nick didn't get control soon, he risked losing everything: his relationships, his business credibility, even himself. And then there was Claire Newman. Claire had made it her mission to expose Audra Charles. Audra was clever, strategic, and always 2 steps ahead, but Claire had patience and a target. Holden Novick. Holden knew something. Claire could see it in the way he flinched when Audra's name came up, the way he avoided certain conversations. So Claire pressed. Subtle at first, friendly questions, casual probing, but as February progressed, her tactics sharpened. Audra's secret, whatever it was, threatened to explode. And if Claire uncovered it, the fallout would be catastrophic. By mid-month, the pieces were moving rapidly. Cain and Daniel gathered evidence against Phyllis, quietly building a case that would dismantle her credibility. Lily's patience with Victor snapped, leading to a heated confrontation that left even him momentarily shaken. Abby filed legal motions to restrict Mariah permanently. Billy's isolation deepened. Nick's secret teetered on exposure. And Claire, she got closer. So close that Holden began to crack. The sweeps were far from over. They were just beginning. By the final stretch of February, Genoa City was a powder keg. Cain made his first move against Phyllis during a high-profile board meeting. She entered confident, smug, fully believing she held every card, but then Daniel stood up. He presented documentation, discrepancies, manipulated transfers, questionable authority shifts, not criminal yet, but enough to cast doubt. Phyllis' face paled. "You're siding with him," she demanded, stunned. "I'm siding with what's right," Daniel said quietly. For the first time in years, Phyllis felt betrayed by her own blood. Cain didn't celebrate, he wasn't finished, he wanted the empire back and he wanted Victor's grip loosened. Victor, however, was not idle. Lily confronted him directly. "You promised this would be temporary," she said, fury blazing. Victor studied her coolly. "Everything is temporary, Lily, including loyalty." That was the moment she realized she had misjudged him. Lily demanded release for herself and her children. Victor relented, but not without extracting a promise: Cain would come to him personally. When Lily returned to Genoa City, her reunion with Cain was explosive. Relief, anger, accusations. "You lost control," she told him. "You trusted Victor," he shot back. But beneath the tension was love and determination to fix what had been broken. Meanwhile, Abby faced Mariah one final time before court proceedings advanced. Mariah looked exhausted, remorse etched into her features. "I need help," she admitted. Abby's voice softened just barely. "Then get it, but you will not use my son to heal yourself." It was a painful line drawn in the sand. Billy's empire began to crumble as shareholders questioned his alliance with Phyllis. Jill's health scare became real, minor but enough to shake him. For the first time, Billy wondered if power was worth the cost. Nick hit rock bottom when Sharon found evidence of his fentanyl stash. The confrontation was brutal. "You're destroying yourself," Sharon said, tears in her eyes. Nick finally broke. Admitting addiction was harder than any business battle, but in that moment he chose recovery. And Claire, she got the truth. Holden confessed everything: Audra's deception, a secret deal, a manipulation that could ruin reputations permanently. Claire listened in stunned silence. Then she smiled, not kindly. Audra Charles had made enemies before, but Claire was different. By the final day of sweeps, the balance of power had shifted. Phyllis was wounded but not defeated, Cain was regaining ground, Lily was done being anyone's pawn, Abby protected her son fiercely, Billy faced consequences, Nick began recovery, Mariah started therapy under legal supervision, and Claire prepared to unleash hell on Audra. Genoa City breathed, but only briefly. Because in this city, calm never lasts. And February had proven one thing beyond doubt. No one walks away clean.